Won't dry off, keeps flowing.
Won't dry off, keeps flowing. Won't dry off, keeps flowing. Won't dry off, keeps flowing.
Hello, and welcome to my closet. If you are watching this, chances are you're a Polish high school student of English. You are probably quite good at the language. You might even consider yourself a Jedi master of the lingo. Now, I'm sorry to put it so bluntly, but it's quite likely you couldn't be further away from the truth. And before you start hating me passionately, you have to know it's not me. It's not my opinion. It's just there's this man who has made it his life mission to prove you wrong. His name is Henryk Krzyżanowski, and he happens to have been the author of every single one of the Olympics test since the competition's inception over 40 years ago. And if you've ever dealt with one of the Olimpiada's tests, you will know how difficult they are. You will know they are typically much more complex than anything you can come across in an FCE exam, in a CAE paper, in a matura rozszerzona, or even matura dwujęzyczna test as well. Well, if you haven't, here's some basic facts. Well, this is what an Olympics paper looks like. There are 8 tasks for you to solve, spread over 4 pages. The first 4 of those are devoted to testing your knowledge of vocabulary and collocation, followed by 4 more testing your knowledge of the English grammar. Okay, so there are 60 items all in, and you've got 60 minutes to complete the paper. Okay, and just to illustrate how difficult the problems that you are likely to deal with are, I've selected some examples. So first, let's take a look at a vocabulary task. These examples have been taken out of test D, which is the 4th vocabulary task that's seen as the hardest one you'll deal with. What you need to do is translate some English sentences into Polish. Well, sentences, or more often than not, just fragments of those. Okay, so the first 2 are not that hard, I believe. Do you mean a take-home wage means something like czy masz na myśli pensję netto? And no vaping on the premises means something like zakaz palenia papierosów na terenie obiektu. Yeah, compare these to the next 2. 2 dormers had to be added. That means something like trzeba było dodać 2 okna mansardowe. Yeah, that's not a mistake. And it was rejected by the Bar Association. So that's not Stowarzyszenie Właścicieli Barów, that's Izba Adwokacka. Okay, so the suggested translation here is zostało to odrzucone przez Izbę Adwokacką. Okay, good? Yeah, with me still? Well, if you are, take a look at some grammar tasks. Now, once again, I've chosen to illustrate the hardness of the tasks by selecting examples from test G, which is seen as the hardest one grammar-wise. Okay, now take a look at that example. Okay, so you probably have guessed that what you have to do here is complete the verbs in brackets. I mean, complete the gaps with the verbs in brackets in the right form. In the right tense form, the right infinitive form, in the right, well, the forms can be passive. You are allowed to supplement those verbs with the right modal forms, and so on and so forth. Now, I'd like to encourage you to pause the recording after I'm done talking and take a piece of paper and a pen and actually just do them like that, the old school way. Don't just do them in your head out of the screen, because it's all about making the right decisions. Very often you will just dither between different forms and you won't be sure which one you've actually chosen, or you would choose if you were in an exam or in an Olympics test. So yeah, please do that. Okay, pause the recording now. Okay, and the right answers would be The US Secret Service is or are investigating a photo blasted out on Twitter, which seems to show someone holding up a smartphone, displaying a picture of the ISIS flag in front of the White House. The photo appears to have been taken at night on the pedestrian mall occupying what used to be part of Pennsylvania Avenue. And another one, which is, well, even though it only has 4 gaps, it seems to me it's much harder than the previous one. Pause the recording again, if you like. Okay, because the answers would be, most people I know would have been too upset to try again, having failed 3 times already, but not Sam. He said to himself, I must win this time, and win he did. Okay, so let's make it clear, in both of those grammar tasks, to score just 1 point out of the 60 you're able to score for the whole test, you have to get every single gap right. Every single one of those. So there are only 4 gaps in this one. There were many more in the previous one. And you have to get every single one of them right. And only then will you score a point. Okay? So I can understand how it feels really, really discouraging. And you might feel discouraged at this point. Why does it all have to be so difficult? Well, in the organizer's words, just take a look at that. I'm not going to read that out. Just pause the recording and read what they say. Okay, well, I've been working as a high school teacher for exactly 16 years now, and I've worked so far with about 700 students. And out of these, only about 10% have chosen to participate in an Olimpiada. And out of these, as few as 4 have qualified for the regional stage of the competition. And out of those 4, only 1 came pretty damn close to qualifying for the finals. He came 66th in the country when only the top 60 made it all the way to Poznań, where the finals are held. His name was Krzysztof, incidentally, so hello to you, Krzysiu, if you're watching this. And yeah, I'd also like to big up all the others, all the rest of you. So Radek, Jędrek, and Kinga, yeah, congratulations, and thank you for all the work that we've done. So I suppose you can see it's not just frustrating for you, it's every single bit as frustrating for me. But am I going to give up? No, I don't think so. Well, actually, this video is to announce a series of films devoted to some of the most typical problems you have to be able to solve, to even be dreaming of a half-decent score, which to my mind would be something in the region of 20 to 30 points. Now, you have to understand this. By no means does this guarantee that you will qualify for the next stage, for the regional stage. No. To go there, to get there, you'd need to score at least like 33 to 37 points. It varies year to year. But yeah, 20 is not good enough generally, but I still do respect students who are capable of doing that, because it's a no mean feat, right? Now, admittedly, it's nigh on impossible to predict what the vocabulary part, which is the first 4 tasks, the first 30 points, will bring any given year, but grammar is a slightly different matter. Yeah? Mr. Krzyżanowski has got some personal favorites when it comes to the grammar bits or items, that grammatical problems that he likes to test students on, and he keeps on coming back to those every year, or virtually every year. So I'm making these videos to devote each of them to one of these pet problems of Mr. Krzyżanowski's, right? And I will be illustrating the problems with examples taken out of previous year's tests. And I hope that Mr. Krzyżanowski won't mind, and I also hope you will join me on that somewhat challenging quest. Well, as it's such a leviathan of a task, there are no real shortcuts here. I've got some advice for you, though. Well, the first piece would be to go to Olimpiada's website, print out papers from previous editions, and I mean it, not again, don't do it off the screen. Just print it out, fill them in with a pen. Okay, check your answers against the answer key that's also present on Olimpiada's website and see how many points you've scored. Chances are, more often than not, you won't even be able to tell why the right answers, or what Mr. Krzyżanowski thinks are the right answers, are right indeed. And if you've got problems with that, get Mr. Krzyżanowski's books. He has published a few, and the best place to start would be this book, 100 testów z gramatyki angielskiej. And apart from the eponymous tests, it contains a grammar commentary by the man himself, which might be a bit of an eye-opener. Now, also take every single opportunity to expand your knowledge of the language, especially collocation, vocabulary, and so on. I'd suggest you should read extensively and go for classics like Joseph Conrad, as well as modern fiction, as well as some factual reading on social, political, historical matters, whatnot. And it will definitely pay off should you ever go over to the regional stage, or hopefully also the finals. Yeah, Mr. Krzyżanowski expects you to know stuff like that. And no, just watching countless serials on Netflix is not good enough. Sorry. The guy is a proper old school gent and is quite conservative in his views of both the world and the language, and you can get some background. If you want to get some background, you can just look him up on Facebook or Google him. Now, a lot of people, both students and teachers, ridicule him for that conservatism, but I personally have a lot of respect for the man. Now, his tests are really the ultimate challenge, the Himalayas of English, okay? And if you're a competitive person, and I know I am a bit, well, without much success, admittedly, he is your man, and the Olympiad is your kind of challenge. So, from next week, I'll be trying to help you out with cracking the code of Mr. Krzyżanowski, if that's possible at all. And if you don't wimp out, I'll see you next week, and I do certainly hope I will. Okay, until then, bye.